happy to in that matchup.
Absolutely. Well, we'll
It's
see.
tough.
We'll see. I just see PAJABOL going with Squirtle on blue for no reason. KERPETEN goes with NR on red, and there's absolutely no way to predict what they're going to be doing. Um,
So
but I am taking us into the main screen so long, so we can,
perfect.
yeah, we can check out what's happening there. Let's just do this. There we go.
It is slowly but surely getting there. It is slowly but surely getting there, and I think we are heading in. As I say, there is a visual glitch, so you're not going to be able to see the player names or the leader abilities for Game 1. It is, I believe, fixed in Game 2, but we will see. It's why this loading screen is taking just a little bit longer. Have to use the debug to convince it to push. Let's see what we can do. Chat, I'm curious to see who you think is going to take this series because these are two phenomenal players. Let us know if you think it is going to be KERPETEN or it is going to be PAJABOL. Just say their name in chat and let us know what you think. As we do see, oh, Paya does take the NR,
Okay.
but we see the square on red here from KERPETEN. Okay, interesting because it's a pretty favoured matchup. I would say the square list, although it wants to be on blue, is good on red, doesn't need to be on blue, and is a list that is running Heatwave for that push if you can find it, of course, albeit we can see KERPETEN has not got it right now.
If we have any mods in chat, feel free to begin a poll or a prediction to see who is going to take this series. So we see PAJABOL starting off with a knight, not surprising anybody, but his erudite is at least going to be growing if he can keep ahead. Yeah, not having Saskia in hand is definitely not ideal here for KERPETEN, as he's going to have a lack of round one tempo, especially against this matchup.
Yeah, could have used his Waters of Broccolon in round 1. It's not the end of the world to choose to do that in this matchup, I don't think, but has decided he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
Instead, a nice slow play from Paya. He can keep himself ahead. He can let it sort of tick over and be very, very happy here that he is staying ahead. And we see the Waters now this way round instead, not choosing to take the advantage or use the power of Antherian either to proc them or to give one of them double harmony is very interesting. He's decided to hold off, keep a variety of threats here. This could simply be his way of getting out of the round, but it's quite expensive if that's the way he's going to do it. Also worth noting, we haven't seen a click on that Squire. That Squire right now still exists, hasn't been clicked because he knows he has to play another card on the other side. Pyre, of course, is bottom on the bottom here with Northern Realms, and KERPETEN is on the top with the Squire list.
Yeah, quite interesting to keep the Waters of Broccolon there. I'm sure there's a reason for it, going with Antherium first, but yeah, missing out on procking those Dryads there. The Squire not being clicked is interesting. It's definitely being kept for either carryover into the next round or a very specific target like Vandergrift, which will also be carried into the next round, and thus it will retain the infuse as well as a status. So I can see that being the play, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. You just have to time it perfectly, or else you are going to not be able to click it if your opponent decides to pass.
That's very true. There's a decent amount of aggressive engine value on the side of KERPETEN right now for Scoia'tael. And there are now effectively 4 Harmony engines sat there. We can see on the other side NR still going, and we are going to have that Knight Errant proc in the next turn. The nerf to this card was pretty impactful. It's a whole extra turn you have to wait now for it to give its ability. Wouldn't be surprised to see Lady of the Lake drop down here for the Amphibious Assault because you want to start getting value on those Immortals as quickly as you can. Be stunned if this wasn't to enable that.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting Amphibious Assault out is kind of crucial here if you want to keep that engine going. You also want to get that card into the graveyard for the next turn, and it does provide you a sufficient tempo to stay ahead with Erudite. So, although we see everything tick beautifully,
Yeah.
yeah, I suspect that we're going to see Vandergriff rather soon.
I think here, the issue you've got now, if you're on the other side, you're working out your engine value. You've got 2 points a turn from the Chameleon minimally, so you can afford to keep going here. And you're going to, I would say. You click the Chameleon, yeah, it makes perfect sense to keep playing here. it does open up that Vandergrift. I completely agree. It's a bit of a shame the Vandergrift hadn't been dropped just before the Knight Errant procced, because that infusion would have carried over into the next round in that being the case. But so many points. The Squire also clicked before that. A little dangerous. Simply because now, 3 turns from now, it will proc its own Grace. So if this goes all the way down to the wire, that card is not making it to round 3. And I think it will go all the way down to the wire.
Well, okay, let's see. Simla's coming out here. Oof, we see those bountiful harvests coming out. Oh, one of the strongest combos you have in Squirtle, honestly. Glad to see it made a comeback. Makes sense. I'd say passing now is probably one of the best chances for PAJABOL to retain that carryover into round 2 with Vandergrift. It depends whether KERPETEN gets ahead here, and I have a feeling he is going to get ahead here with all the Harmony procs.
Harmony won't proc from these because
two
there is
elves.
already one on there. But, okay, the Farseer giving a boost as well. That's actually pretty nice. It's going to be close, but doesn't quite get ahead, especially with the passive engines. But still has 2 playable cards here.
Okay, and we don't see a pass. We see...
No, definitely not.
Yeah, no, we see the Vial for Better Knowledge coming out, and Vandergrift gonna tick very soon. So this is either gonna have to be a pass right after, or else we're gonna see a tick this turn already. This round, I mean.
Now, I don't think you can afford to take the pass. I might be wrong. I might be proved wrong here. I think he really needs to win this round and is reliant on hopefully finding... Because he's definitely drawing all 3 of his Echo cards, which is effectively perfect. You can grab the scenario, you can grab a Knight, and you can just keep pushing effectively with the Heatwave already in hand as well. And a decent Erendite has been ahead every single turn. I can't see the graveyard, but I do think that Erendite is sitting at 8 or 9 right now. Did find the tempo. Couldn't keep up with the engines of Knights, and that is a very, very efficient round 1 for PAJABOL. He'll feel pretty happy about that.
Absolutely. Also takes Vandergrift into the next round with the infusibility still there. It might not have resilience a second time, but it's still going to keep ticking, making it an engine. Now, question is, are we going to see that artifact coming out in round 2 here like Northern Realms players so often do? Or are we going to see a soft bleed to get that artifact out from KERPETEN?
The difficulty is here. From Pyre, he can't play the artifact because he can only proc it once. Unless he mulligans away Erendite or Heatwave, which is really difficult. He mulligans away the Erendite, fishing for a Knight. He is looking for a Knight. He wants the 2-0. Oh, he finds it. And he finds the Knight.
That's beautiful.
And there it is. And crucially, there is no Heatwave available on the other side. Pyre is going to feel very, very happy about that on blue coin here, as we see scenario traded for scenario, but one has an answer, the other does not. Is it still worth heatwaving that scenario? I'm going to say probably yes.
I think so. Honestly, there's not a lot here KERPETEN can do to keep up. If PAJABOL is able to trigger his scenario all the way with his Grace ability still intact, even though we can't see it right now.
I mean, it's still maxed as well.
Exactly. So still has that 5 Grace ready to go. Honestly, I would like to see Heatwave being used right about now.
If you had last day, you might consider not, because the Owl is going to be at maybe 16, 17, 18 points. We have seen it be the case. Oh, okay. Has leaded as well with that combo to destroy one of the Knights. Very interesting choice there to force and stay ahead.
Okay, so this is where movement comes in a little bit, that control, disrupting some synergies, but not really doing too much. Only has 1 Dryad Ranger, can't poison off one of the bigger cards, and we already see PAJABOL going up to 24 points here. I have a feeling this is going to be a 2-0.
I could see him passing here.
I
could
see
him considering a pass, because he's about to get the Vandergrift tick. He's still ahead here. And the 2-0 is risky if the Owl exists, and we know the Owl does exist. I think it's fine, but now he doesn't have a way to proc. Because of that movement, he now can't. It's only +4 from the leader ability, and doesn't have enough to proc Maiden Shield. But when he passes, Vandergrift will trigger, I believe. Nope, he plays.
Wundergrift
Never mind. It's like, nope.
Wundergrift was already triggered, wasn't it?
I don't. It shouldn't have been. Maybe it was, but it shouldn't. It should have. Oh no, never mind. It was. Did it trigger in round 1?
Yeah, that's the thing. He continued to play into round 1, thus denying another resilience. So it's just an engine now, but honestly, it's enough to just 2-0. He got everything he needed. He's on 60 points. There's no catching up here for KERPETEN. There seems to be a win.
In. It's gonna be closer than it looks.
Especially with Milva coming out again, but it's not gonna be enough, I think.
Yeah, but had to use the Milva to deny as well. Missing that heat wave there. Game losing for KERPETEN as it is now 1-0 Paya, and crucially getting his NR through at the first time of asking. That's going to feel really great for him. He's going to be really happy. KERPETEN will be a little bit disappointed. Does not find his heat wave, which would have really, really helped in that situation. I think if he finds it, that could very well end differently.
Yeah, especially also not drawing Saskia round 1, as is mentioned in chat. I totally agree. Saskia is a really nice card to have round 1, especially since it just gives you that much tempo. Might have been able to out-tempo PAJABOL, denying that 2-0, but there we go. NR at its best now. KERPETEN going on blue coin. Is he going to do the same thing? Is he going to go with NR as well? Or are we going to see a bit of a snipe here coming from KERPETEN?
I mean, he wants to get it through. I would be surprised if he doesn't switch. He could stay with the Squirtel list. It is a little versatile, and it's probably happiest on blue coin, I think, because you can win that round 1, usually with a Saskia or something like that, assuming you find it, of course. I don't even know if Saskia would have made enough of a difference into the full round. He lost that round by nearly 40 points in the end with the engines ticking. It would have helped for sure. I think if he'd played the Saskia in round 1 and lost it would have been really bad. Obviously, he would rather have found it for sure, but it would have made him lose a lot of harmony value that he gained as well. So he played round 1 very well. I think he played the round 1 the best he could. Missing Heatwave into that bleed, the amount of value the Grey scenario played for was phenomenal.
Absolutely. That was quite the game. Perfect game for Northern Realms, being able to pull it off like that. I think we're just loading a little bit longer than usual. Hopefully.
I'm told game 2 is fine, so it should be okay.
Okay.
I believe game 2 is fine. It is, and we swing straight in. Oh, names are back. KERPETEN sticks with the ST list.
But PAJABOL going for Northgard on blue.
Surprise.
And red, sorry. So red
Yeah,
potentially sniping into Northern Realms on blue, which would be ideal, right?
See, and this is why I don't like the Saskia in this list. The Saskia has pulled out a card that has no that is a deploy ability rather than an order ability or any kind of valuable engine, and you just lose so many points for doing it. I know it makes sense, I know it thins well, I know it's good tempo and is immune. It never made sense to me in a Harmony list. I understand as a pure mid-range value card, it's great, but you're kind of rolling the dice on, is it going to be one of your poisons? Is it going to be one of your damage cards? Is it like, I find it very interesting that it's still worth running in this situation. It clearly is. But yeah, as we see Paya just jamming some 4 provision bronzes, no fear there, and the leader charge to boot.
Yeah, makes sense if you're trying to set up a potential Triss to get ahead here on even eventually. Yeah, those sevens are each going to be boosted by 4 points if Triss is being dropped on the board. So also has a Rainfreeze gang ready to go, but whoop, there it goes. There goes the tortoise.
That was a Heatwave on a 4 provision card. And you may think that sounds absolutely crazy. What is he doing? He's just Heatwaved. In this matchup, realistically, especially in a round KERPETEN wants to win, it's probably the best target he's feasibly going to get. There are no engines to speak of. It's an open decklist situation. He knows what he is going to be seeing and what he's going to be facing. Honestly, there's a logic to it.
Yeah, I mean, you're just denying that Triss value at all costs. You could also move something into a different row. Oh, we see that Imperial Diviner coming in clutch, getting rid of the poison. Yeah, so now we are going to have to potentially use some movement here if we really want to deny Triss. KERPETEN has a few choices to make here, as he is on blue coin already behind just a tad bit. But Saskia is going to keep him ahead, I think. if he continues to go into this round. You also, of course, have the fear of Triss being used offensively against your melee row. That is also
Very
something
true.
you have to look out for by row stacking here.
It is, and it's interesting. KERPETEN here is saying, I don't believe you're going to pass. The stratagem is not being clicked. Wants to be able to play the entire hand if he needs to, but that bears the risk of also not finding your cards later on if you can't quite get it the way you want it.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the Slave Hunter coming out here. Slave Hunter doing some work. Yeah, that row is definitely going to be Trist if KERPETEN keeps on playing, but I don't even think Trist needs to be played at this point. PAJABOL is quite easily staying ahead here with just some very big bronzes being placed on the board. Okay, we're gonna see one of
Very
those
nice.
bronzes getting deleted. That is very nice,
And a
preventing
second
it.
as well.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And at what stage, if you're KERPETEN here, are you considering clicking that stratagem? You want to get rid of the bricked special in hand, but realistically, blue is deciding, so he is going to try and fish now. Does he take something like the Simless into hand here instead of the scenario because he can never play the scenario and just try to find it? Or does he just hold the card and hope he finds a way out? Because I don't think Paya's going to let up here. I think Paya's willing to play his hand. And I like this. I like taking the Simless instead, because now the entire hand is playable. You don't want to play Waters in this situation for sure, but you can.
Interesting. It's certainly something you could consider, though Waters into round 2 is ever so nice to have if it is the option to hold on to it. We can still trigger quite a bit here. We've got the Dwarf still gonna trigger. We've got Simlas that could get Bountiful Harvest, though you would rather keep on to it if it's possible. I have a feeling these players are going to go rather deep into this round, as both have just enough to get ahead with some of their committing cards, like Triss, Waters, or even Simlas. Both of those cards should be able to get the player ahead. Oh, very nice.
Has continued to play here. He was weighing up a pass that had been offered to him, but is content that he can get far enough ahead here. So 15 points would need to be found effectively by PAJABOL here to get ahead. Now we can see Triss does that, and he can afford to play slowly and bait this again. He could just play the bronze yet again and say, okay, I'm just going to keep building this up because I know Triss gets me out. I'm willing to commit Triss to win round 1, even if it's not uneven. It is enough right now, I think, to get ahead. It's 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's an 18-point play right now. So Triss plus the leader does get ahead right now for Paya if he really wants to put his foot down.
It certainly does get him ahead, though even putting another card on the board will allow him to get more points because of the extra bronze, the extra base power boost. It depends whether he thinks KERPETEN will keep on playing. Yeah, so we see the Slave Hunter coming down instead, making Triss even stronger if she is used in the next turn. But what does KERPETEN decide to do here is the question. Saskia is also going to end up ticking another time, which could be problematic for PAJABOL.
It could be, and it does mean that the Triss now comes out because it's the only card that guarantees safely, and the Knickers jumps out as well. Huge gap in the end. A sensible and pretty safe pass from KERPETEN with a decent hand to resist this bleed. Will he end up finding the scenario when he needs it? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, beautifully played by PAJABOL. Very nice setup with Triss. Saskia was not enough to get ahead here. We see some good hands, like cards in the hand of KERPETEN right now, but as you said, the scenario is pretty crucial here. And
there it is.
There it is. You love to see it. Rain Free, though, in the hand of PAJABOL. That... Oh, did you see that?
I did see that. So he's decided to mulligan it away here. Feels like he's going to be gone for the 2-0 and doesn't want to commit it. It's very interesting, as I just get a little bit of input lag there on the recording side, but it does catch up very quickly, don't worry. Has decided to mulligan away that scenario in the hopes of using it in round 3, perhaps, instead of in round 2. Has to defend this bleed and doesn't want to use the scenario to do it. It's an interesting take. There will only be 6 cards left in the deck by the time round 3 comes round. He will see 5 out of 6 of them. So going for the belief, well, what do we see? What are the? We can't see them. You've got gluttony, pride, sloth is good, greed is great, wrath is amazing because wrath can potentially clear this up here if he takes wrath. Not enough turns for the cooldown. Doesn't need diligence. Has taken the path instead. Took sloth. Okay, took sloth for an extra hand draw. Could have cleaned up those engines and really gone for a 2-0 here, Paya, but maybe feels there's too much power left.
I think you just hold on to it a little bit longer. You've got the one Dryad and check with that lock. Also definitely going to try and bleed out that artifact, but I think KERPETEN here thinks he could easily withstand the bleed, but doesn't want to commit that artifact just yet, so shuffled it away just in case. We'll see if it turns out to be the winning move or potentially what costs him this game, because PAJABOL has no reason to stop here. He's doing quite well. I expect to see our little gnome coming down there soon enough. Perhaps after playing the Dryad first. I also expect to see Milva being used if necessary to get ahead.
Yeah, the Milva is a possibility here. Could have chosen to kill the Rune Mage right there for that value. Would have brought them back level. Level is not good enough here. We're going to see, is Paya going to take the pass at this situation? He won't be too happy with the things that have been given away so far. Won't feel overly pleased with the trades that have been made. He effectively has got Waters of Broccolon and a couple of bronzes here in place of last leader charge, Rune Mage for setup, but also another gold as well in Artorias Vigo. But this is the last chance I think he's going to have to keep his coin. And he says it doesn't matter. He's leadering. Oh, okay. He is now going for this.
Yeah, I expect PAJABOL to go all out here for the 2-0. He is definitely going to give it everything it has. Oh, okay, so let's see. How's this going to end? Brathan's being played. That's going to trigger Assimilate. Oof.
Yeah, take another. Yeah. So many points. Look at the speed, and all of a sudden now, the realization from KERPETEN, I have to push this, and I have to greed this as well. I have to get that gnome down as quickly as possible. Will have to take a slow turn, probably, with that Dryad. It's really unfortunate, because it is just playing for 5, plus then the extra value of using the Chameleon there. Simless is enough, I think, to get ahead because there are no other elves on board if there is a pass here from Paya, but does he take it? Does he take it?
Interesting question. Yeah, taking it... he has to calculate...
A better card.
Yeah, he has to calculate with the Simlas, or potentially the artifact is enough here to bring KERPETEN ahead. He does the calculations. He thinks he stands a pretty good chance if he keeps on playing. I agree with him. With that current passive leader ability going, that's a lot of points.
And it is indeed. And we say, oh, so KERPETEN feels like this plus the leader might be enough.
Well, let's see. We've got Simlas coming out with Bountiful Harvest. We're going to trigger the Harmony from Percival as well as the Dryad getting a bunch more. Let's see.
Okay, and you're going to be able to proc. That's brilliant setup, because now, with a single leader charge, you are ahead. Keep the coin. You've taken a bunch of carryover onto a specific Harmony card as well here. You desperately need Harmony cards. You're drawing 3. You've already got one of the Harmony engines in hand. If you can find that Harmony scenario, really nice bleed resist there from KERPETEN. Really, really good. So far, so good. And has found it. Drawn the Milva. Mulligans the Milva, you would imagine. Just needs to find one remaining Harmony card to proc this. And that probably is how that's going to run. And only bronzes. I don't even know if this is going to be played out here, I'll be honest. As soon as Paya sees this, he may just say thank you very much. But he doesn't. He keeps going. There is honestly, there's actually a lot of points in those cards. That has played for a huge amount of value.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough, though. It's not going to be enough with this artifact still sticking. And,
I don't know, actually. I don't know. It's a lot of points.
Okay, well, the update to that card is definitely going to hurt. Interesting putting it on the same one, especially... Oh, I guess you're not too afraid of poison still being active.
Yeah, and the reason will be because the 3-point card is a
With
better
his slave
transformation on
infantry.
Slave Driver. He has
Yeah.
to greed, but he's already now out here. Was hoping that perhaps he had bricked the Milver or hadn't found what he was looking for. Didn't have enough harmony cards. Maybe there was a hand version that made that possible, but this should be all she wrote here. This should be GG and taking it to 1-1, I'm pretty sure. Doesn't surprise me, these two players are both fantastic. As we see now, that is going to be... Ooh, yeah. And this obviously plays out here at 8, but that is not enough. And they level it up.
Beautifully done. KERPETEN surviving that vicious attempt at a 2-0. PAJABOL simply doesn't stand a chance with that artifact still in play. And KERPETEN takes it, bringing his Squirtalus through on blue coin. That's 1 each for PAJABOL as well as KERPETEN.
So far, so good. And one has the Squirtle list through, which is KERPETEN, but the Northern Realms list has gone through for PAJABOL. As we now revert, it is back to exactly where we were. No advantage left. Paya switches back to blue, which for me means we're going to see him... No, sorry, yeah, Paya is on blue. He now takes his Squirtle list 99% of the time. Taking that NR list on blue would be really strange. So that kind of gives KERPETEN some information about what he wants to do here. He still needs to get his NR and his ST through. God, is there ever a time where you ST mirror?
ST mirror? ST has already been taken through. You mean in Nilfgaard mirror?
Yeah, does he? But then he wants to put his Northern Realms through. This is where he wants to put his Northern Realms, right? But on red coin, he doesn't want to play his NR here, and into this matchup, he doesn't want to play his NR either. If you're KERPETEN. Oh, but he needs as many shots as possible to get it through. Honestly, I could see him queuing NR here. But from the last game, his choice of mulligans were fantastic. Honestly, that was where KERPETEN wins that game. He resists the bleed perfectly. He keeps himself just in the position he needs to be. Sets up his engines in a decent order, but doesn't overcommit too quickly. It can be very tempting, and I've been guilty of it, when you know your opponent's bleeding you, dropping a card sooner than you need to, something like a Simulus, for example, to make sure your opponent's bleed fails, and you get to keep the card. He didn't need to do that. He was able to slowly convince Paya, my hand might not be good enough. I might be sitting on this scenario, and if I am, the 2-0 push is correct because I've been greedy. It was a really nice little fake there, I think. And the mulligan, I think 95% of players are not brave enough to mulligan that scenario in round 2, generally speaking. I think they keep it and they're excited they found it. And he was like, nope, my odds here are pretty damn good that I'm going to find it. So it turns out the right move.
Absolutely agreed. I mean, if you've played these matchups so long that you basically know what you need to get out of a certain bleed with certain cards, then you can afford to mulligan away a card that you definitely don't want to have to commit because you only need 4 points to get ahead, right? So keeping something like your scenario for later, it's still risky. You might not draw into it, which is always tragic. And then we blame RNG, but we did have it. So
True.
Yeah, no, it was a brilliant play on the end of KERPETEN, and being able to outpoint Rainfree is quite impressive. Rainfree's rather scary, and there at the end I wasn't sure KERPETEN was gonna get ahead there, but yeah, he pulled it off anyway. So we now get to see PAJABOL bringing his Squirtalus potentially on blue, and KERPETEN having to decide what he wants to bring on red. It's either going to be Nilfgaard or NR, but like you said, it could potentially be an NR. It's a difficult one. It depends what you want to bring through.
That's the challenge, right? The Nilfgaard on red just makes sense. You don't really want to be playing Nilfgaard on blue when you can help it. Proactivity, even in the Renfree list, can be a little bit awkward. And we do still have the possibility of NG v NG, right? That mirror is... as a traditional Clown Fiesta, even the Renfree version, because there are assimilate engines and how you play that is a little bit different, even in the non-double cross version, than perhaps other normal matchups. They will be deciding here which way they go. I think it's pretty set for the red coin player here to be taking NG. I feel like that's reasonable. So that leaves Pyre on blue. I would be surprised if he doesn't take ST here. I think that probably makes most sense for him. It definitely wants it. You can use that stratagem. They're obviously using Curse Scroll to guarantee you find one of your key pieces to either win that round or give yourself a chance into the second.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, getting Saskia around 1 is enough tempo to normally get ahead, but as we saw, Triss is still a factor you have to take into account. If you draw all your cards, that is Triss Meteorite Shower is just brutal. But she's also a very nice finisher for later rounds, so committing her around 1 would only make sense to get ahead. Yeah, I can see these two doing a matchup like this. PAJABOL, on the other hand, might be thinking, hey, KERPETEN's gonna snipe me with Northern Realms, I might as well go for Nilfgaard. It could go either way, depending on what these players normally pick when they are practicing against each other, because we know they practice against each other, both in the same team. Maybe that's why they're taking so long to decide here. They're playing 3D chess and have to think what the other player is thinking of doing. It could go either way. I'm curious to see what ends up being picked. But yeah, logically, Nilfgaard, I mean, a square on blue makes sense. KERPETEN going for Nilfgaard on red makes sense.
I think so.
And therefore they won't do it because it makes sense.
Well, quite possibly, yeah. They'll know each other so well, as you say. They've scrimmed these matches together so many times, and they will be considering what worked, what didn't. If I take it in the unfavored coin, how effective is it? How helpful is it? I guess we don't need to guess anymore, thankfully, as whichever one of them decided to take the extra few minutes has now returned. I don't believe there are any more technical issues, so we should be seeing everything exactly as we hope. Exactly as we hope.
Exactly as we hope. I'm very curious.
He says, looking at the loading screen exclusively, looking at the loading screen here, and we do see KERPETEN here takes his NR list. This was an option for him, and Pyre takes. See, they've both taken the opposite list here, expecting one of them to do the other.
Yeah.
Really, really curious because the NR list now queuing in on the opposite coin, but could actually be very, very happy here because it can eat up some of those locks early on. Although having found some in hand is great for Pyre, he does also have choices of proactivity in this list, thanks to some of those reworks. The Renfri's gang is always great as well, so this is going to be very interesting.
I just love it when they do the exact opposite. Both went for the opposite choices, should go for thinking the other player wouldn't expect it, and now you end up with the exact same matchup you were basically dreading, which is NR on red, which is never really good. Nilfgaard control being able to counter NR. If anything, I think PAJABOL wins this 5-head 3D chess. I think he'd be happy with how this ended up.
Oh. He just created the Bondlin, the master of puppets. That has to be, that terrifyingly has to be answered because this makes that round so bad for KERPETEN.
Yeah, this is rather scary.
Heatwave this.
Yeah, I would potentially consider Heatwave here. It depends if you think you're going to take the round.
Oh, the skill level on show here. And you saw how quick he took that. As soon as he saw it in this matchup, the ability. We can't hover over it to show you what the card does, I'm afraid. But effectively, it is a bronze card that can trade places with another bronze card. If you steal one of NR's engines, that is absolutely terrifying. Now, it does give your opponent the ability to use that order again. It is on a cooldown. But against Imprisonment, that is useless because they are just going to lock it the second they swap it.
This is very lucky. It depends what you want to steal, of course. Maybe you want to wait until something like Immortals gets dropped onto the board, then you steal the Sorcerer, so you can start stealing that shield. There's quite a few options. No need to rush, though. No need to rush. You can just wait until the target is big enough, and then you swap it out. Oh, and we do see the Immortals being dropped on the board. That is scary. Oh, dear gosh. That's very scary.
It is. Now, KERPETEN does have the ability to purify the lock if he chooses to. But even still, it could not work in your favor if you push this all the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can just lock it again because it would not be in the turn because it's a 2-turn change, not a 1-turn change. But worse for KERPETEN here, fortunately, he's the red coin player because he does not want to give that scenario. And we see Pyre use it. I'm sure he's locking it.
I guess it doesn't have to lock it just yet.
Okay. Is he killing it? He's got to be killing it, right?
Potentially. Potentially he could still wait though. He doesn't have to do it just
Yeah.
yet.
He can wait a turn, and he does wait a turn here. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. KERPETEN's still playing, down a lot of points here. He is down a chunk of points here. But, of course, can take the switch. Okay, Paya's going in. I'm assuming he's going to use the other card to kill it instead. Is that going to be his play here?
He is considering it, and that's
Saves
exactly
the
what
leader
we
charges.
see. That's brilliant. Brilliant. So stealing that core engine as well, getting the 2 points now every turn with the sorceress. Beautifully played. There's the potential to see that heatwave coming out this round, but KERPETEN has to think whether it's actually worth doing. Getting round control with NR is very, very necessary though, and he is going to struggle to catch up at this point.
And that's what's scary for him, because when the sorceress is on your side, KERPETEN went from getting 4 points a turn to only getting 2 himself and his opponent getting 2. So that is a net swing of 4, effectively. Not ideal at all when it was one of your biggest and most potent engines. Wants to try and purify here, but it's so slow. And he does still do it, which is that's an interesting choice here. Does have the option of using that leader ability for that extra little bit of a push, because of course it scales if you can proc a grace ability, and that knight errant is about to proc a grace ability, but it's very, very brave. And Paya now weighing this up. He will be looking at the list and thinking, how do you make these points in one card? What version of reality is it possible for you to do this?
So you could obviously heatwave the sorceress. That would put you on a 43 points. Then you still have the grace ability as well as your engine ticking off. So that's 48 points with grace alone. You've got the 2-point engine, 2-point engine. It's still not really enough. It's not actually enough to get ahead. I would like to see Paya pass, but the thing is you can't really give NR round control either. Even with the car down, it could still be a tricky situation here.
And he does pass, so it is. I think you're right. It has to be the heat wave. I think he has to leader, unless he's going for the double. The Pella was really, really risky because it's such a slow tempo play here. Yeah, it's such a slow tempo. Had we frozen?
No, sorry, that was just me refreshing the page.
I see. No problem.
Yeah, so
we
we
need
did
to talk about the fact that you still use light mode as well. It's criminal. We need to discuss this.
It is my only source of lighting in the dark.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that. And he's going for the extra card here instead. I think he has to leader charge this too to get ahead, right? Because he's only got 4 more points on that, so he's going to have to use the leader as well. No, he just gets ahead because of the grace. Okay.
All right, so still a card down. This is something PAJABOL would have predicted, and he was willing to take it. So I expect to see a dry pass, but NR players are crazy. They will do anything to play their artifacts in round 2, no matter the cost.
I mean, honestly, with the right hand, I could be convinced to push with that hand. I'm not going to lie to you. I could be convinced to drop the scenario, drop the maiden sheet. Oh my word, I could see myself pushing with that hand, knowing that I'd got a second AA, knowing that I got Erendite available through it as well. And he didn't even blink, didn't even think about it, because he loses the long round. If he takes the long round, this is already over, right? KERPETEN has to push here, because you are not winning that long round against this Nilfgaard list, right? I love this. I think it's completely spot on.
NRB crazy. I've said this many times. They are crazy. They will play that artifact if they're 3 cards down just to play it. But I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Honestly, for me, it does, like, we've seen it though in competitive play, particularly. I constantly hark back to it, but watching Colomon push 2 cards down into a matchup that he had no business being involved in, let alone winning. But it was the only viable line, and he made the right choice. But his short round for KERPETEN here is super strong, knowing he'll have all 3 Echo cards. Additionally, the tempo that he's going to have with these Knight engines is absolutely huge here. The big thing he needs to work out is how and when does he drop that Maiden Shield. I think the argument to click the Squire and play it now because he has that Mahakamail to deal with that final lock is pretty big.
I do agree with you. Yeah, no, just absolutely bleeding PAJABOL to bits here, and still having access to Amphibious Assault and a Neuromancy in round 3 is a lot. I expect to see, expect to see Maiden Shield coming out as quickly as possible. Definitely getting Bronwyn out. Beautiful trigger there with using Duchess Informant against PAJABOL to make use of that passive scenario ability is also brilliant to see. Okay, yeah, Mahakamail obviously can go through the lock if PAJABOL decides to lock Maiden Shield, but it's something you kind of want to use anyway to get Bronwyn to tick.
Definitely. So didn't click the Squire, I noticed. So planning on that so that he can get another Grace proc really quickly with whatever he chooses to AA. Can use then potentially the leader charge for Bronwyn maybe onto the lowest value. I don't know what Erendite is currently sitting at. It's got to be somewhere around 7, maybe as high as 8 or 9 points at this point.
Okay, so we do see Ramon coming out there. As PAJABOL lost a round, he gets the tactical decision as well, so that's very nice. Ahead now here on 28, but matters not. KERPETEN's going to be doing what's necessary to trigger those Grace abilities right now. Potentially using Bronwyn combined with something that gives a boost like Mahakamail. Yeah, it depends what he's going to be drawing with Nero as well as Amphibious Assault. He does go with the Neuromancy here. Ooh.
Goes the Nero, and Nero's the Vandergrift here to play the Vandergrift out at 8 instead. Gets the battle charge. Now we get the proc. And is he going to hold the Bronwyn value? Because getting rid of it, in theory, there's nothing in this list that can deal with a 17-point boost. No, he chooses to play it. Okay. Chooses to play it here. Interesting that he didn't choose to go for the Erendite in this situation and wants AA for another engine or just pure value. I don't know exactly what the Erendite is sat at because we don't have access to the deck or graveyard. We are casting the past in the present, effectively.
Okay, so you see Blue is currently deciding here. What are we going to go with?
So he's dropping... This be Vigo, I guess? No. Yeah, it could be Vigo, I guess. We've seen...
yeah, Arturius Vigo.
The 5 choices, that makes sense. The Purified doesn't really help you. I guess you take the Soldier and the Battle Prep. Because you're not... The Squire's not giving you the value you want. Giving more units to potentially boost can be awkward. Although, the Spy might actually not be terrible.
Yeah, that's my thoughts as well.
Yeah, because you get rid of the Bronwyn value. That's actually really nice. The aggressive spy plus the final leader charge is not terrible at all there. The doubled value from Bronwyn gone. And also, if Erendite was in hand, the extra value, even if you hadn't been able to kill it, you now have a decent shot because it's a lower value card there anyway. That is so many points. Oh my word.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Also having Vandergrift as carry over into round 3 along with Amphibious Assault as well as a Neuromancy is just going to do work. I expect to see PAJABOL just going forward with the cards he knows works. He also has Rainfree still, which is going to provide a lot of points. Now, KERPETEN decides to go for the pass. Okay, interesting decision having Mahakamail into round 3.
It's just an extra. The card was only playing for 5 here. I think he probably plays it in all-ins if he still has the Bronwyn option, but he doesn't. It's a lot. He's still got 3 points a turn of engine as well. So looking for PAJABOL here needs to be finding over, I think it's 22 points he's going to need right now with no engines his side. Renfrey is a possibility to find that, but not a guarantee at all. Could also try and interrupt some of that engine value playing the Spy, so that you're not getting the boost both sides, but it's risky. I'm not sure which golds he has left in deck, or because he could have to play all 3 cards here if this doesn't go well for him.
Yeah, I expect to see Rainfree here. I can't imagine catching up without it. We see
finds Igni.
Oh,
Does
gosh.
Igni do it?
Oh yeah, this is an Igni list. Oh, I forgot this has Igni.
Oh, so close. Okay, but he's happy that he gets to keep...
Whoa.
Okay, so he keeps his card, very efficiently wins the round, holds on to that, gets good value. The Igni is a setupless Igni, but in this meta, you are going to find value. Decided to hold on to the Triss. Offensive Triss wouldn't have been as great as you might have thought because of the value of the shields, right? It's going to be very interesting what else is remaining. Oh, okay.
Damn. Well, that was beautifully done. Yeah, I forgot this list also runs Igni. It's just insane what you can fit into a Nilfgaard list with Rainfree and Triss, but beautifully done. Got a lot of value there, especially just abusing the fact that Grace goes that tall. So this is going to be interesting. I don't believe Erendite is that big, though.
I think it's at least 9 or 10. I might be wrong.
I'd like to see, yeah, because KERPETEN started off on red coin here, so Erendite value was denied for quite a bit at the start, but now he's ahead, so that Erendite's going to keep on growing. I would be curious to see what it ends up at. We see Rainfree here coming down. What are we going with?
Could be taking... Humility's no good. Temperance might be decent here, but you're not going to have too many low-value units. Charity, yeah... Probably Temperance is the highest here. I'm curious to see what other part of the leader ability was taken. I'm going for Stratagems, is my guess. Yeah, because Temperance is going to be potentially a 6.
Yeah.
I suppose no, because of the boost.
That's
going to be tough.
They are thinking about it for quite some time, calculating it, right?
Oh no, because it'll be the Triss that will get the boost, so it'll be a 7 anyway. Wow, we don't get a chance to see. It took Sloth. Okay, decided to take Sloth because it gives you an extra unit to improve that Triss here, and did in the end take the plus boost because you're playing the Triss onto the back row. This is going to be so close.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Already KERPETEN here has to get ahead in order to make sure Erendite keeps on ticking. He has Amphibious Assault, which I'd like to see as a potential option. Also has Erendite at 9 points. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all.
Okay, Erendite's currently at 9. Not likely to grow past that either, realistically. Maybe once more, but...
Do you want to kill something? Yeah, kill Rainfree in order to remove Triss value. Currently, Rainfree sitting at 5 is going to be a 3-point boost, so I could see it. I could see it happening.
Yeah. Well, it's the value of killing it, but also you're expecting Triss, so you know it's not just killing a 5 and giving you the extra 4, but it's killing you a 5, killing the extra 4, and removing 3 points of value later. So I think it makes sense. You know it's not going to keep growing, so greeding it doesn't really help.
Nice.
Tall Punish, now that Igni's gone, is not a threat. So you're willing to do this here. That's a lot of points. And you get the additional value as well, having created, of course, that battle prep.
Okay, we see Amphibious Assault coming out here. What are we going to go with? What's going to play for the most points at this point in time? Gonna go for the damage, I see. It's not gonna kill it, though. So we see Triss coming down there at 43 points. This is going to be close. Gosh. Ooh. Potential
and the spores is close. Oh, it's a point.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Sorry, KERPETEN. Well played. That was very close.
A single point there, meaning it is 2-1, and Paya has just one list remaining.
Damn.
Oh my word.
That was very close, actually. That was surprisingly close. Whew, Spore coming in very nicely at the end there, but not enough. Simply not enough.
A single point. Trying to think if there was any possible way to find an extra point of value. If he plays all of his units on the back row, technically, his Triss would have boosted itself as well.
Yes.
Which would have given him 2 more points.
Yes, very true.
So if he row stacks back row instead of front row, but Triss doesn't boost herself, right? She's every other unit, I think.
Yeah, I see. I'm not a Triss player myself.
Let's start a war, shall we? Okay, I see. We're doing this today.
Well, what can I say? CDPR hasn't given her very nice gowns to wear. I don't use her as a leader. There's some discrimination here behind the scenes, you know. I do it out of principle at this point. But yeah, you're right. Triss does not boost herself, and it would not have mattered. But again, very well played. I'm curious, was it in this game where we saw the Grace abilities being used early on in round 1? or was that the previous first game? Because I recall if Grace wasn't used as early as it was, perhaps there would have been an extra point there at the end.
No, other way. Other way. It wasn't this game.
Okay.
It wasn't this game. I think I think Pyre wins that on his effective bleed resist.
Yeah.
He manages to do very, very well. Fine. Obviously, he knew he was grabbing either Igni or the Triss. Didn't panic. Made the calculation, and managed to get out and retain all of the value from the rent-free. A single point of that rent-free being missed, choosing not to play it as early, could have made the difference. But the sequencing was perfect. And I honestly think KERPETEN in round 3 does very well. I think the round 2 push and choosing to hold the card was the correct decision, honestly. I can't see it. I don't think it would have made sense to play that extra. So, trying to think of any way that KERPETEN finds that extra point, but you're going back to changing the entire of round 1 and round 2. So...
Yeah, that's the thing, right? There was a push here on 2 cards down in round 2. It would have been interesting to see it play out in a long round 3 potentially.
Maybe, because he ends up losing the game there, right? But I think the push is correct. I think he loses that long round. I could be wrong because there is a lot of value in that stratagem.
Yes.
But I think the Igni just kills you because you're giving them multiple turns to find a way to set it up, even if it's awkwardly. If you can get Igni to be worth 30 plus points, which in that matchup is possible, I'm not so sure. I think the push 2 cards down was right for KERPETEN. It was that the Pella in round 1 is kind of what hurt, having to give him that extra card advantage.
Yeah.
Because if he goes for that push on even cards, the reality of being able to 2-0 is huge. Looks like we have a visual bug. Again, I see no names.
Well, okay, we have KERPETEN on blue coin.
Oh, no,
though.
never mind. Yeah, we're good.
There we
That's
are.
fine. There's nothing as we went into the screens. It is all good. As we see now, Pyre is 2-1 up, and this could take him into open number 3. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, we only need to take through our square tile list if we are PAJABOL in order to go through to open number 3. Like you said, this is big. Now, PAJABOL taking square tile on red, not the worst thing. His hand is looking beautiful. He's got Saskia, Waters of Brokilon, Simlas, Artifact, beautiful. KERPETEN here.
The Heat Wave.
Yeah, Heat Wave as well. That's going to do some damage against this artifact if KERPETEN decides to use it. But at least NR on blue is still the optimal choice. So KERPETEN, KERPETEN has 2 chances here to still make it through. He has to take through his NR list as well as his Nilfgaard list.
Yeah, and we felt the NR list was going to be one of the things that was going to be a struggle in these lineups to get through. Pyre managed to get his through at the first time of asking and will have felt very confident from here. KERPETEN now has to return and do the exact same thing. Big difference. They're on the same coins, effectively, as when Pyre won. So Pyre was on blue, but the Heat Wave exists for PAJABOL. That is the big thing here. He has it. KERPETEN missed it the whole game. Couldn't answer that scenario into round 2. The only thing for Pyre here is you could argue his hand is almost too good, but he does have the ability to just drop the Saskia, play bronzes, and find his way through this reasonably comfortably. Won't want to commit that scenario and would ideally not like to commit the Simless either. Maybe is okay committing the Waters.
Yeah, I'd like to see the Waters being played first for a change, but apparently they prefer to play Antherion and then the Waters sometimes. So Saskia coming out though. Saskia's definitely going to provide the tempo needed to just, absolute tempo ahead, try and deny Erendite value. That combo there is going to hurt. That's a lot of points a turn. I wouldn't be surprised to see a potential kill of one of those cards. Trying to poison it is probably not going to work here, as we only have 1 Dryad Ranger right now. There you go. Saskia pulled out the other one. Like you said, it's a bit of a risk having Saskia on a list like this, and she can just get rid of cards you might need later on.
Yeah, and it's not just it's been pulled. You notice it did proc its Harmony because that's the way the pull function there works. Because then Saskia sits on the board and effectively procs it. That's quite nice. The downside is that now it's not just that that card has been pulled, but it's the fact that the threat of that card has gone. Now KERPETEN's looking at Paya's hand and will be thinking, so you have the only other two poisons in your hand? Am I buying that? So that's pretty big. Oh, now that is a huge... He's been weighing up doing that for the entire game. From the moment that card was dropped, Paya took ages to make a decision on when he was heat waving that. He has decided that heat waving that to try and bully and win round 1 on even is more valuable than being able to heat wave that grey scenario. That is a huge decision from PAJABOL. He looked like he was weighing it up. That is interesting. I think he now has to push to win this on even. That's huge here.
Yeah, I could see that going through his head there. I can absolutely see the reasoning for it. If you're able to win round 1, you can just bleed out that artifact entirely in round 2. Yeah, that was going to generate a bit too many points, and Saskia was going to struggle to counter it in terms of tempo. But yeah, good choice, I'd say. Good choice going for the Immortals.
It's definitely brave. If we see the other Dryad Ranger drop here, and plays it for damage, doesn't worry about messing around, and he pulls an Antherian. Okay, so that Antherian has pulled not procced Harmony the first time, because of course that's how Saskia works here, and KERPETEN now just making sure staying ahead, keeping ahead is very, very important here.
Yeah, it certainly is very important, but they're going to struggle. PAJABOL here has a lot of control. I wouldn't be surprised to see some movement being involved either, perhaps with the Saboteur, getting Mulva out, killing some of these potential engines. We see the Antherion using his ability, and we do see Saboteur coming out there. Makes sense.
Perfect.
Yeah, makes absolute sense.
Oh, okay, and uses one of the leader charges. While you already have the Milva on board, so you haven't got to worry about Milva, you lose a point of damage, but has now effectively scuppered that engine. It needs cards either side of it to keep growing, but obviously you can just play another card. It's fine.
We see Vandergrift coming down there. Already Vandergrift now having the infused ability. Could this be a problem? Yeah. Will it reach it too early going into 12? I think they don't care too much about that. I think it's more about carrying over the infusibility into the next round and retaining that engine.
And I think you're right. Obviously, this list is built for 2-0 effectively as well, with the Heatwave missing. If KERPETEN can find access to that scenario, which he has guaranteed, because Lady of the Lake into a Nero can do it, it's pretty big. The downside for KERPETEN has not been ahead that frequently. There's been a couple of turns now, so that Erendite in deck not as great as it could be otherwise. But he has to find a way to stay ahead here.
Yeah, that is the problem, right? Decides to use Pallor just to get rid of the infuse ability on the Dryad Ranger. Not gonna do that much, but I guess I see it. I guess I see it to an extent. Could have gone with another engine instead, but perhaps deciding to opt out of this round soon.
I think both players are very keen to win this. Paya, now he's heat waved. It feels like he has to try and push to win this on even. The scenario being in hand is very awkward for him. His hand is now in a position where he doesn't really want to play most of the cards that exist in it. Saskia proccing again is huge. KERPETEN takes the loss on even here, but with the carryover.
Yeah, I thought as much. That palette play was far too slow to contest Saskia tempo, as well as all the harmony set up on the board. Instead, we see Vandergrift coming through, which is going to make a difference. It certainly is. Now, question is whether a PAJABOL here is going to be pushing. I suspect so, since he does not have Heatwave anymore, and definitely needs to bleed out that artifact, or else a short round 3 could be deadly.
It could, but he holds the elf. He holds the owl, sorry. And we see Waters of Brocklon drop down before the scenario. He also only has one harmony card other than the owl. So he's kept the owl potentially to play here with the scenario if he chooses to proc it. This could just be the soft bleed plan. He needs to see that scenario, will feel more confident when it's gone, needs to bleed it out. Is he going to get it? Is KERPETEN going to respect the bleed and play this early? Or is he going to try and greed and win with everything but the scenario? We've seen he was very willing to hold this back?
It's really difficult. It's really difficult because you need to set up these scenarios early on. But then again, it's gonna hurt. It's basically losing him the game if he really does decide to do it. And PAJABOL decides to just pass at some point in round 2. So instead, we see Amphibious Assault coming out here. That is going to allow Erendite to keep on growing, which is still something that can be played this turn. It hasn't been played yet, I believe, so...
And there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Mysteries of Loch Fian coming down here. It freezes at this point.
Yes.
Now it's back. It's fine. It was just a connection loss. A couple of seconds and it's back. Don't worry. It was just a connection loss issue from one of the players. Now, if you're KERPETEN now, you've seen the scenario. This might be the point you decide that you need to do it, but you do have enough knights not to have to. You can just be slow here and just keep the engines ticking. It is what he decides to do. He's desperate not to commit this.
And we do see that resilience coming down on Vandergrift into round 3. Beautiful. If there is a round 3, that is certainly going to help. We see the artifact coming down there as needed. In order to contest this, you're going to have to play it. And I'm sure PAJABOL was intending to potentially go for a 2-0 here anyway, so it's very needed to start playing some of your win cons right now.
Curious to see, because there was an option to pass and not lose the card there. Paya willing to trade. Could decide to hold on to the owl instead of procking, but the owl here is going to be worth so many points. It's going to be worth so many points here. Simply because it's going to play on its own. Normally it'd be worth a lot more, but it's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, plus then it's going to spawn another from the Harmony engine that you can play on deploy. The downside is it could be an elf, which you don't want to play if you're going to play the Simless for carryover. Can he keep pushing and get that maiden shield from KERPETEN? Because I think he's going to want to see it. He's pushing on even, feels pretty confident that it's reasonably safe to do this if he can get everything, but we know there's carryover, right? KERPETEN has managed to proc Vandergrift. I like this.
Okay, Simlas. It's time for Simlas.
I like this.
Yeah, okay. So you're going to be procking all of that Harmony with your elf. Beautiful. Oh, you're going to be ahead by quite some points at this time.
And manages to find the movement elf as well that he can play offensively.
Ooh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay. Very nice.
This is looking scary. KERPETEN has no choice but to go all in here. And he has to try and stay ahead so that Erendite at least plays for some points, because the Erendite is not going to grow if you don't commit something like Bronwyn's Shield at this point in time. Yeah,
that's going to be... He doesn't want to go too quickly. He's desperate to try and hold that Maiden Shield and hope that this is a fake push from Paya here. He's going to want to play the Knight, I think, instead, because it procs the final Grace scenario. I think he's going to play the Bronze. He's down by 17. Oh, okay, we see Erendite, but we don't know what it's at. It's at 8. Okay, it's been growing reasonably, actually. It's not been as bad as it looks, but he is ahead as well from all of those Grace procs. Yikes.
Damn, that's quite a bit. I was hoping that PAJABOL perhaps decides to use some movement to get rid of all those extra points that the artifact is continuously giving any card that triggers. Yeah, now we see it being used. So now we deny that having any extra points, but yeah, there we go. Now see, if that was done earlier, we wouldn't have 2 points on each side being given to the other adjacent cards. But maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter that it wasn't done yet. KERPETEN now having to decide what his next move is. He has a great bait there in the form of Mova. I feel like that was done on purpose. Mova is sitting on the board, and now KERPETEN has the option to kill it, and he will be rewarded for it by getting the death blow. Or he can go all out, and he can commit his Maiden Shield. But which one will he pick is the question.
Paya is already 20 points ahead here, and KERPETEN is well aware of this. The Owl being sat in hand currently drops at 11, plus finishing the Harmony scenario. I'm not surprised to see KERPETEN respect this here. knows that he has to kind of fight to keep up, but his engine now, I think, is a solitary point a turn. If he doesn't leader here, and the leader... He has to do it, yeah. He had to leader here and get the value, and it did proc the Maiden Shield, fortunately. All of a sudden, he's gone from behind by a few points to ahead by 15, 16, 17. It's a huge amount, and now Pi will be thinking, I can get out here. He's going to be happy. He saw everything he wanted in this bleed. The big thing, that second Erendite. Anero is gone, been used twice. AA has gone, been used twice. But that might be a 12-point Erendite coming into hand right now. That's a big amount of points.
Exactly. That could be problematic here. I feel like,
11.
yeah, that Erendite could do some damage. And since KERPETEN now goes first, because he won the round, Erendite is guaranteed to keep on growing. So, yeah, the other two cards in the hand, not that great. Not the best bronzes, but it's about all he has left at this point in time. So, yeah, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. PAJABOL's hand, on the other hand, looks pretty good. I mean, he's got Percival right there. It's going to be triggered multiple times, getting 2 points every time that happens. Obviously starts off with it. Oh,
I think it dies straight away.
You think so?
I think it's insta-yeet. Yeah, I think you just kill it.
I
think
I
it's
agree
the most,
with you.
You're going to get value now. It's only going to grow potentially your Erendite by 2, and waiting to play it at the end, you're just costing yourself value. I think for KERPETEN here, really nicely played. I think you just kill it. The downside is if then you don't end up with a target for your other bronzes, which aren't very good here. They're pretty useless in this situation, and that could be the downfall. But honestly,
I like to see it. I mean,
I think it's fine.
Yeah, that engine would have carried PAJABOL quite a bit. Denying it is beautiful. It's still going to be closer than it looks. I need to tell you, it's going to be close. It's KERPETEN's game.
I think it is KERPETEN's game. I think we're going to a game 5. Honestly, I think in fact, we're definitely going here to a game 5. Oh boy.
Damn.
Because that is just nowhere near enough.
Oh
it's not
my
even
gosh.
close to enough.
Gets Grace another time, 41 points. Love to see it. We see the Late Guardian Dusk aspect coming down. Let's just see how many points you can get in a short round here with Harmony. It's still a bit. It's not enough, but it's a bit.
It's not. The problem is the chameleons weren't in play, and the chameleons, you keep clicking them even though they kill themselves, even if it's only even points, because they keep proccing that owl for that round 3. It is 2-all, my friends. It is 2-all. I can also now tell you, I know who is waiting for the loser of this game.
May I ask?
I believe I'm allowed to say at this point.
Just don't say who wins this. Just tell us who's waiting.
No,
Please
I
tell
don't know
me.
who wins this. I have no idea. But
Okay.
I know that whoever wins this goes through to Open 3. Whoever loses this series heads down into the lower bracket to face the redeeming, the returning. It's Red Rain. Red Rain is waiting. Oh my word.
Oh, okay. We're not showing
match cancel.
any bias here, of course, but Red Rain, guys. This is Red Rain we're talking about. Who exactly? He's been here from the beginning. He hasn't played Gwent on stream for a while now, but he is one of the great ones, my friends, and it's so cool to be casting him. It's like a blast from the past for us.
And it's great to see how well he's performing. We saw quite a lot of players in the last 3 months, former pros who'd either moved away or for whatever reason gone to play something else or stopped playing.
Yes.
Have returned, and we saw quite a lot of that in the last 2 to 3 months, whether that was the expansion that brought them back, the potential for getting involved, something like that. Red Rain did phenomenally well in the season that he returned, finished second on the ladder, and to do that anyway is ridiculously impressive. To do it when you've been away, wow, really nice to see. So will that hard work and effort be rewarded with a place in the Open? Well, I guess it'll be either PAJABOL or KERPETEN trying to stop him. That's not easy, right? Like, they're 2 of the best players in the game, so he's not got an easy ride if he wants to do it. Here, before we get anywhere near that, though, we have a final game between these 2 friends. They practiced together, they brought identical lists, and it comes down to a final series tier.
I can't wait. I'm gonna suppress my excitement for the losers bracket. We can get there later. For now, it is the final game. PAJABOL versus KERPETEN. This winner is going through to open number 3. So pretty exciting. A lot is at stake here. We're gonna see PAJABOL with Square Town Blue Coin, and KERPETEN with Nilfgaard Imprisonment on Red Coin. This is going to be interesting. Oh dear, this is a new board. Haven't seen this one before.
We're playing the darkest, deepest dungeon board here. Hey, you can see the cards. They work. That's all you need. Ignore everything else. Happy days. Paya will be happy here that he is on blue with this list. KERPETEN will be very happy he is on red coin with this list. This is going to come down to matchup knowledge and how you navigate this. Obviously, the cards you've drawn initially is pretty important. A very strong hand for KERPETEN. Maybe you could argue too many gold cards this early, but we will see.
I'm going to be honest, I like this board. Do make it a thing. It just makes the cards stand out so much more, and my OCD mind loves it. I am in peak concentration mode right now. We see... I would buy this.
You already own it. Just turn the saturation down. I'm sure it's fine. But happy days. Hey, as long as the cards are still in color, I don't mind. As we see, it doesn't surprise me the Saskia is the card drawn in here, and you can get rid of that brick as well, opening up your Simless. And now PAJABOL goes in. See, you don't mind it pulling that if it's the first card it pulls. If it pulls it at any other stage, it's awkward and a problem. But it wasn't, so Paya pretty happy there. The thinning as well to guarantee you the cards you want is really nice.
See that lock coming out straight away. Now, I can't help but notice Igni just staring at us from KERPETEN's hand. I would love to see KERPETEN attempt to actually set up cards for a brutal Igni in a Harmony long round. I guess you only have so many cards that can do damage and help actually keep cards.
Not many.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? You might get lucky, but PAJABOL's going to do everything in his power to not let the Harmony cards align. I can guarantee you that.
Very true. And I'm just looking... So KERPETEN there decided to play them onto the back row there, the Renfri's gang, rather than the row he was already playing, admittedly slightly lower value units into. Kind of sort of saying, I don't have access to my Triss right now, but we see a double leader going straight in for this very, very early Renfri, maybe trying to roll on the cooldown, not getting the hover here, so there we go. Sloth is amazing, Greed, and okay, all of those options are fantastic. It's so early that you don't know which one's going to be the best for you right now, but Wrath in this matchup can be amazing. He could use Wrath right now if he finds cooldown and kill the Saskia.
Oh, did he find cooldown?
Neither.
Oh.
He did find cooldown, but he didn't take it. He took Sloth and then the option to play boosting even and odd.
Okay.
Curious.
Whoa.
He could have destroyed the Saskia there and had cooldown to do it again later and delete multiple engines. I would have gone straight for that. Clearly, KERPETEN knows that this, if he plays correctly or believes this is more points for him.
I mean, I quite like the passive ability. It's a constant engine as long as you don't use the order on your leader. So I quite like it. I guess you kind of want some of these cards to stack up at the end of the day if you want to get Igni out. It could be detrimental, perhaps, getting rid of too many. I don't know. KERPETEN knows best. Apparently, setting up that passive early is what he wants to do. Basically, just creating an engine throughout the entire game.
Oh, makes sense. And he'll have played thousands of games with Renfri for sure. So he will be acutely aware of which is going to be the most valuable for him at the end of the day. So it's going to be interesting to see how that trades. If he still wins this round, I don't think it matters too much. He could have, as I say, deleted the Saskia in order to trade for that. But cooldown, especially now it's gone to 8, even at that point, he was only getting it 1 more time, not 2, I think. So it's certainly a lot worse now that it's been nerfed down to 8 turns rather than 7, for sure. I think he might have taken that if it was still at 7, as it originally was, because it would have doubled, then tripled the value of the leader.
Very true. And notice how PAJABOL is playing against Triss right now in his head. He's placing all the cards he can on the range row to make up for Saskia spamming the melee. He just moved one of the bigger cards into KERPETEN's range row. again, just sort of trying to deny a potential Triss slam at the end of a round. So, gotta respect that.
Very much so. A little awkward here in terms of what he chooses to play. I don't hate this at all because it will come out and kill it, but he does have the target as well. He preset that up, which was really smart, and then can play. All of this is building carryover, even though obviously it was also plus 1 point. Really nice from Pyre here. His hand gets more awkward as he gets close to the scenario, but he will be willing to commit that Simless if he absolutely has to. The problem is he has to do that next turn. The only options, he would be missing out on all of the carryover that he could get if he doesn't play it next.
Yeah, let's see. KERPETEN still has a bunch of cards he can use to get ahead here. Igni, not really a great option thus far. Can just play Slave Hunter at this point. Yeah, doesn't really need to do much. Rainfree just pushes him ahead right there with an extra point.
Yeah, it does just in that situation. He's got to play the Simless here. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't, because he can't afford to miss the carryover portion of this, right? Makes perfect sense to me. I suppose Harmony Engine, not terrible, if he chooses to go to take that.
Also gets a Purify, not really. Do we still have any locked cards on the board?
Yes, there is a locked engine. Doesn't take the Purify, though. Isn't worried about that, it seems. He takes the Harmony Engine, and then the damage here, because he can get rid of the armor, I would assume.
Makes sense, as you'd only be triggering your Harmony Engine once with the Dwarf, so not really worth it if you can get even more points out of that Tortoise. Let's see.
Just takes the pure value instead of hitting the Tortoise.
Igni could be a problem, right?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, he's trying to remove, yeah, because the Igni was worth more value. Okay. And gets the round here. PAJABOL has round control. You're not going to commit any of those 3 wonderful golds. Still has the leader ability. This is going to be really tough. This is going to be really tight here, because are you going... I don't think you can afford to take the long round if you're Pyre. I think he has to go for the push here and maximize the value on that short round slam with the owl, but can that even work?
It's a tricky one. It really is. You don't want to give Nilfgaard a long round at this point. Igni as well as Triss would just love it. Denying that value is really what you want to do, but he decides to pass anyway.
Long round, let's go! Okay, I love this. This is interesting. And again, he will have prepped this matchup. Feels like with the golds... Like,
I can't wait. I want to see this play out.
Yeah. It doesn't have the owl yet, so I keep talking about finding the value for this owl. There are... Oh, God, he's got a 50-50 on finding it as his last card.
Oh, come on, find it. You have to find it. We can't blame RNG on a potential
Doesn't take the mulligan, doesn't care. He says, nope, I'm happy, that's fine. Doesn't take the mulligan to search for it. I find that very strange, because there's no bricks in this deck, to my knowledge. He had a mulligan left there, I'm pretty sure.
I wish we could talk to the players after these matches like we used to do. And ask them exactly what the choices are that went through their minds at pivotal moments like this one. I'm also curious why not thin that out. Perhaps because the human will trigger a Harmony way more than some of the other cards. I'm not sure.
There was definitely a mulligan left, and he hasn't got access to his strongest Harmony card, and there was a 50-50 on drawing it at that point. So I'm honestly very confused. Unless I'm missing something, right? The Milva is the Milva's still there. The 50-50 on bricking Milva. That's why he hasn't done it.
Oh, Milva. Yeah. Milva was mulligan back into the deck at an earlier stage in
round 2. Yeah, and he should have held it in round 2, knowing he was passing, so that risk disappears. That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And I get why at that stage you don't roll the dice if you're Pyre, because the dice roll... knowing that costs you the series is awful.
Wait, did we just see Rainfree being used?
We did just see Rainfree being used turn 1, yes. Turn 1 Rainfree here.
Interesting.
It is now down. It is now down, trying to set up as many engines as quickly as possible. And killing one of those assimilate engines early, even with full leader, into a long round like this is a really smart move from Pyre. Feels really bad. He'll be kicking himself that he didn't hold. And when he mulliganed it away in round 2, I assumed he was going to push, because it's the only brick he has, right? But it's just instinct. You see it, you get rid of it. You see it, you get rid of it. So I think, yeah, if it comes down to that decision, he'll be a bit annoyed that he couldn't take that 50-50 mulligan there.
Still getting that passive ability from the leader is just
Yeah,
brilliant. I can see why he went for
huge.
that. I never go for that for some reason. I want reward now. I don't want to wait and see it play out. But this is really good. I'd love to add up how many points you actually can get throughout a game if you just play Rainfree from the very beginning.
Oh, it can be absolutely huge if you put it into the right place, right? If you can get the value, it's worth it. Yeah, also, as has just been mentioned, if he had the Waters in round 2, he probably does consider a push, but he missed Waters in round 2, has now decided that without it, it was better to try and take this long round. There are so many points here available from the Assimilate procs on this. It is... And when you consider Triss exists as well, that Triss is going to be playing for 20 plus points. It is a lot. But don't count Harmony out just yet. Don't. It may be slow. It may be ticking. Just wait to see.
I'm waiting for the pivotal moments here, okay? I'm waiting for Triss, I'm waiting for Igni, and I'm waiting to see how PAJABOL plays around them, because those two Dryads on the range row are looking very juicy and very much the same. And so far,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to infuse one
Yeah.
of them. Or, you can't though, you can't. It's... Just don't play that other one on the same row, PAJABOL. Don't do it. Don't make the mistake of playing one of them on the range row.
Very, very scary. So I think he has to play it on the range row because the scenario will move out of range anyway. This I am already pre-nervous about this Igni. Genuinely, this is looking very, very good for KERPETEN here to see if he can book his place. But still 5 cards each to play. This is...
This is a bit scary.
So many points. These Nausicaa Sergeants are trading for absolutely huge value here. Constant huge value, and proccing 2 points of Assimilate a turn, as well as giving additional armor. Not that the armor is worth anything right now, but it is so much value that they just keep clicking. Keep clicking, keep clicking.
Yeah, you can see that. I knew this would happen with the new patch with Nilfgaard. Normally the competitive players, they pick 1 or 2 cards that have an insane combination, and they put them in every single deck you see, because they just play for so many points. Now we see that with the Nausicaa Sergeant as well as the Slave Driver, so we still have 2 Slave Drivers in hand as well, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, this trading here for decent value. And also the Igni is a little uncomfortable. It's only a single 8 right now, not what you're looking for at all. The additional boost, just about worth it. This Slave Driver as well, able to create yet another. That Slave Driver played for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Fuck. Oh my god, 9. And that's 15-point Slave Driver. That was a 15-point Slave Driver. If you ignore the points the leader ability got, 17 points with the leader ability in that turn. That is absolutely wild.
Another
for a
one.
5p bronze.
Another one.
And here comes the... Oh, that Igni is 8. That's a 20-point Igni, chat. Destroying an engine to boot.
Oh,
and
it's more than that. It stopped the engine from getting potential value it would have gotten. Oh my gosh, that was brilliant. That could have been the deciding factor in this matchup, I think.
Yeah. I honestly don't think it was going to be close either way, but I think when you add the engine value up, it was closer to 28 points maybe. But it was always going to line up somewhere. And this is... Oh, not finding the owl might not have made the difference realistically, but as soon as this Triss hits the board, that is all she wrote. There is nothing Paya can do here. And I am pretty sure, I could be wrong, but...
I love how they still play even regardless.
Yeah.
I like to see it.
It could be the wrong deck was queued, but I mean, again, this Slave Driver here is trading for another, 20 points here, I think. That combination in Nilfgaard right now it's phenomenal. Look how many points that was as we see this clicked again. The owl here, and I think Paya just wants to show him that he didn't find it almost, and get as much value as he can, but the owl wouldn't have saved him. The long round missing that Waters. Oh boy, and it is KERPETEN has gone through. He has beaten his friend, and Paya now dropping down into the lower bracket to face another friend It's Big Rame. Oh my word.
It's gonna be PAJABOL versus Red Rame. What a series. I can't wait. But GG KERPETEN. Very well played.
Yes.
KERPETEN beating his friend, going through to open number 3. Very well played. Very good Igni
Wow.
there. I'm a fan of that player personally.